Boom, there it is, ladies and gents. About to start another one. Hey, if you are trying to hack your mind and need a little help doing that, then today's episode's for you. Biohacking the mind. What's that all about? I don't know. Let's find out. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Boss! All right, staying focused is a problem for many people these days. We live in a swipe up world, and if you don't like what you see, we move on to the next thing. Unfortunately, that doesn't work when we have things to do. To be successful, we need to be able to get in the zone and stay there long enough to get work done. Today's guest is here to share the safest, all-natural solution to melt away the distractions and redirect your attention to what matters most. So let's find out how this supplement gets you into focus in just 30 minutes with Dr. Mike Van Thielen. All right, Dr. Mike, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
I like your intro, man. I like your intro.
I figured you would, dude. It's all about getting that energy up. That's literally what you're doing. You're helping people get their energy up, get their focus going on. Tell me a little bit about your background. Why get into the supplement space?
Well, I'm originally from Belgium. You probably pick up an accent here. Most people don't know where Belgium is, but I always say it's the size of the Everglades in Florida. A lot more good beer and good chocolates and a lot less alligators. But that's where I came from in 97. I traveled with the Belgian Olympic swim team, so I was involved with sports performance and supplementation early on in the 90s already. I'm a swimmer myself, actually, so I'm a world record in 2019 in the 45-plus category, and I'm training for another world record in the 50-plus category here in August of 2023 in Japan. So I'm getting ready for that, and I've always been in the health space. Right now, I'm a keynote motivational speaker. I talk at conferences and congresses on health. Not on medicine, quite the opposite, but on health and how to regain control of your health, optimize your health, optimize athletic performance, optimize business performance, and biohack. And so what I do there is I generate leads, and many of those people become my mentees. I have different mentorship programs. And so what I've been witnessing here in especially the last decade, even with my daughters that are now 20 and 22 years old, is that a lot of people can't focus anymore. They can't get the job done. They're distracted. There's an overload of information, obviously, because of our phones, our social media and those types of things. So we are what we call in a dopamine overload. And dopamine basically is your reward hormone. It's the hormone, when you get a little squirt of the dopamine, it feels good. It's like a pat on your back. So when people are on social media and your post is liked, or they put a heart on your post, or somebody likes your comment, it's like getting a little squirt of that reward hormone. So we seek more and more of it. On top of that, we got our sugary drinks and sugary fruits. We got our energy drinks, and then all this social media. So it's a dopamine overload, and dopamine overload in our brain basically unbalances the 5 intelligence hormones that are responsible for memory, concentration, focus, and those types of things. So we get an imbalance, and that usually results in brain fog, low energy, and those types of things, little attention span. And so we can't get the job done. We're not productive. We quit our jobs. We can't do the homework in time, and the list goes on and on. And so most people can't get out of that vicious cycle because energy drinks and those types of things, or coffee, they're really not energy drinks. They're actually all depressants. That's why we need more and more of it. So when I came across this all-natural supplement, obviously I was very intrigued because unlike things like Adderall and other smart drugs, there's no side effects, there's no dependencies. And so it gives us focus in 30 minutes, and it usually lasts up to 6 hours. To to be on task and be on focus. But it's not all about just a supplement. Just a supplement is not going to change your life. We need to learn how to get organized. We need to learn how to turn off the distractions if we want to focus and be productive. We can turn our phones off while we're doing our homework or working on a project. We can put ourselves in a room with the door closed, tell people not to distract us. We can put out sounds and noise, all those types of things. So there's many things that we can do to avoid those distractions and to focus and get organized and those types of things. But this supplement happens to help getting you into that zone for about 6 hours.
Man, getting in the zone is already tough enough. You talk about getting in the 6 hours. I got a little story. One time when I was younger, early 20s, about 21 to about 25, I would spend a lot of time going to Las Vegas and sitting my butt on the blackjack tables or the poker tables for hours on end. And since I was young, didn't really have enough money to like fly out there all the time, we would just get a caravan of dudes and we'd load up in the car and we'd drive out to Vegas. But we would leave from San Diego to Vegas is about a 4.5 hour drive. And we leave like around 10 o'clock at night. So we drive like all night to avoid any traffic, show up like at 2, 3 in the morning, and then just gamble until our room was available. And then we'd crash or whatever. One time I decided to take a 5-hour energy drink. Because I thought, this will help me through. That was the worst mistake I ever made. My teeth were grinding. I was shaking. And it was literally about 5 hours later, I felt almost like a relief. It exit my body at that point. And I'm curious, when you're taking some of these supplements, when you said it lasts for 6 hours, am I going to have something like that? Am I going to experience some sort of like jittery feeling if I'm taking a supplement like this?
No, not this one. There's many supplements and energy drinks out there that do exactly that because they really are not balancing your intelligence hormones or anything like that. When we talk about coffee and energy drinks and those types of things, they basically borrow energy from your body, but you'll have to pay it back later. So usually you get a depressive state afterwards. Think about people that drink coffee, they get headaches. And so the only way to get rid of the headache is drink more coffee, right? And that's
Get in my belly!
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Get in your belly. So he must have drank a lot of coffee. Probably some Big Macs also I saw there. But anyways, another story. But, so it's a vicious cycle and you're not getting out of there. And you get brain fog and you get fatigue and you really can't focus and you're not productive. And that's usually what happens with those because they call them energy drinks, but they're really not. They're all depressants. So what you really need to look for is something that is all natural, that doesn't have any side effects, that doesn't give you the jittery effects, because that's what you experienced for a few hours, and there's nothing fun about that. And that doesn't accumulate in your body, that has no side effects at all, that is safe. It's even allowed in sports and esports because it's not on the doping list, and those types of things. So that's what we have here. It's called Focus Plus. Basically, it has 4 key ingredients, but the main ingredient is pretty interesting. A cancer doctor by the name Dr. V. Emandi stumbled upon this. And so Biocitroid is a patent-pending compound that basically is extracted from a specific type of blood orange, which is a citrus fruit in the rainforest of Southeast Asia. It's basically a terpene. And so the extraction method is very expensive, and actually Biocitroid is worth more per ounce than gold per ounce. So it's a very expensive ingredient. But what they found is at 30 milligrams or higher, Biocitroid is able to cross the blood-brain barrier. And that's why it has such a rapid effect. Within 30 minutes, you will be in that zone. Any other supplement usually takes weeks to build up in your system before you even may feel a benefit. So, but because Biocitroid enters the blood-brain barrier in 30 minutes, you can feel it immediately. And then what this company did, Clarigen Z, they added some other neuroagents to it. They added L-tyrosine to the mix, which is an amino acid, which is the precursor to dopamine and norepinephrine. So that really helps with mental processing, memory, and cognitive functions. So they added that one to it. Number 2, they added phenylalanine to it, which is another neuroagent. which supports, again, dopamine, norepinephrine, and epinephrine. And so it's good for creativity, motivation, attention, etc. And then the last one is very interesting, because that's more of a what I call a biohacker, is phosphatidylcholine. Phosphatidylcholine is actually a good type of fat, and also it's not just in our body, it's in our brain. And so phosphatidylcholine basically stimulates NGF, which is nerve growth factor. So what we're doing here is we're enhancing our neurotransmission in the brain, and we are building new neural connections and neurons. So you're basically not only healing the brain, but you're repairing, renewing, and biohacking your brain at the same time. So these 4 ingredients make it so that when you have a dopamine overload, like most of us, when you take this, it balances the 5 hormones so they function optimally. You get out of the brain fog into the zone, so you can be on your A game, you can deliver, you can crush your competition, and you can get some stuff done.
Well, let me talk about dopamine overload, because I feel like we're kind of susceptible to that just because we have that cell phone in our hands at all times, right? Anytime it vibrates, I know I got to take a look, right? Sometimes it's just the ring. Somebody's delivering an Amazon package. Maybe it's somebody gave me a thumbs up, a like on Facebook, or whatever it is. So you're getting these dopamine hits all the time. How does that change? In other words, taking a supplement like this might give me some more clarity, might give me some more focus, but it's not going to take away my phone from out of my hand, right? It's not going to take away some of these dopamine hits that are coming to me on a regular basis. So is this something that's happened, like chemically is happening to me, where even though I'm still alert to these dopamine hits, for example, on the cell phone, does this like offset that, or does it make me feel like I can get to that later?
That's a really good question. Most people forget to ask that question, right? Because there's always let's manage the symptoms and then let's take care of the cause, right? So yes, this Focus Plus, which has those 4 ingredients, will balance the hormones. So your dopamine is too high, right? And so when you take this, it will settle the dopamine. So there's a balance between the hormones, and that's how you get back into the zone. But you're correct. Like I said in the beginning, in the long run, you would have to, put some strategies in place to avoid the dopamine overload, especially when you're at work or you want to get something accomplished. You need to put that phone aside. You put it on airplane mode or put it in another room. There's many techniques out there to increase focus and productivity. One of called is the Pomodoro technique. You can look it up. But there are certain strategies. For example, you're going to decide you're going to work 20 minutes straight without any distractions, no phone. And then you're going to take a 5-minute break where you can go to the phone, check your messages, respond to somebody. 5 minutes up, you do it with a timer, back to work 20 minutes. And so that's how you can get some stuff done. So putting some strategies in place to make sure that you can get the job done and focus. And so there's many of those strategies. So in the long run, if you want to really have a solution to this problem, is yes, you got to learn those strategies. You got to put some things in place, and then you won't have that dopamine overload. But even in that case, every time you take this supplement for 6 hours, it will get the dopamine down. It will balance all the 5 intelligence hormones, which is dopamine, acetylcholine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Those are the 5 intelligence hormones. It will balance those, and then you obviously can, then you don't have an overload. So, inadvertently, if you take this Focus Plus twice a day, 12 hours every day, well, yeah, you will basically always counteract that dopamine overload. But ideally, you also put some strategies in place to minimize that overload.
Yeah, we got Facebook comment. Blackjack is my game. I'm pretty sure that's Senator Porter out there. Thanks for tuning in. And for sure, Blackjack is definitely fun to play. You talked about the 4 key ingredients, and you said one of them was a really expensive ingredient to extract, right? You said it's almost more expensive than its weight in gold. So it's got me thinking about the product and the viability of the business as a whole. When you have an expensive product like that or an ingredient like that, how does it affect the pricing of the product itself? And like, how does that change your business model?
Yeah, what the business owners, and again, I'm just the medical officer, so I'm not involved in the business really. But the business owners were able to get the patent on it and also some proprietary rights, and they're the exclusive importer of biocitrate in the United States. So they basically buy in bulk, some serious bulk, and therefore they can reduce the cost and make this affordable for the consumer. The price continues to decrease too. And I would say this at the end too, for those listeners who want a free sample, because all the podcast listeners can go to a special website and get a free sample. And again, you'll know it comes with 2 pills. I suggest you take the pill when you know you're going to need to focus, whether you're going to do a workout or go train for something, or whether you need to do that homework or, work on a project. You take it 30 minutes before. And then if in 30 minutes you don't really feel in the zone, you take the second one within 30 minutes or an hour after. And so that will put you into that zone. And if it works for you, great. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? But it's a good way to find out if it works or not. So for the listeners, you can go to trysmartpill.com, T-R-Y, smart, S-M-A-R-T, pill, P-I-L-L.com. And that's where you can get a free sample to try it for yourself. Because I always say there's always research. There's always people saying things work, but there's only one way to find out if it works for you is try it. And if you can do that
That's
for free,
absolutely true.
go to trysmartpill.com. There it is.
Perfect. Yeah, give it a shot. Why not? So you talked about how you were an athlete, avid swimmer. You were helping with athletic trainers. I mean, I know me myself. I'm pretty athletic myself. I don't take any supplements currently, but who is this actually targeted towards? Like, is it anybody in specific, or are you just mainly, is this like something to help specific athletes to get an elevated level? Who's this for?
Perfect question. We got a lot of top athletes on it. We actually designed our product for golfers. It's called Golf Perfect, because a lot of golfers are on it now. We have some NFL players on it now. We got some MMA fighters on it. I'm on it. I'm just a swimmer though. But anyways, what it does though, when in the zone, you obviously can focus much better during training, and you can go faster and harder when you're in the zone. So it helps during training. But even on the field, what it does is it keeps the end in mind. For example, if you're a golfer and you miss a putt, it has been shown in research that miss will carry over a few more holes. Or if you're a football player and you don't catch the ball, that missing of catching the ball usually carries over a few other games before you're back on your game. And that's because you're not in the zone. People that are really in the zone, they only have the end game in mind, which is winning. So their next play, they'd already reset because they don't keep overthinking about the little misstep that they just made. It just also makes you anticipate better because you don't have a brain fog, right? And so you anticipate faster. So if you play tennis or any sports involving a ball, you will anticipate that pass and that ball much faster than somebody whose intelligence hormones are not balanced. So there's many advantages to making sure that your brain and your focus is optimized and that you're in the zone. Major differences in winning or losing in many sports. Even in sports now, they always ask the question, how much in sports is mental versus physical? And a lot of coaches answer between 50 and 90%. Actually, top golfers say 90%, but the truth is that research shows that it's 100%, because even your physical performance comes down to a mental aspect, to motivation and those types of things. So the mental aspects in sport is great. And we're looking at sports at top level. All those guys got skills, so who gets to the ball first? Who anticipates first? It's usually the mind. How sharp are they? Because we're talking about good days and bad days. Well, they're usually decided by, are you distracted? What are you thinking about? What happened at home? Are you in fight with your wife? Do you have financial problems? What happened? Where's your mind at? And so if you're not in the zone, you're going to have a bad performance on the field. And so this will kind of pull everything together, balance your hormones, and get you in the zone every single time on demand. And that's the key. So we have a lot of sports people. We have Silicon Valley CEOs and business people because they got to be sharp. They got to make decisions on the cusp. And we got our John Does on it. We got lots of students on it because obviously, they have more trouble than anybody else because they really have a dopamine overload with the poor diets and all the social media that they're involved in. So they really have a very low attention span that easily can be fixed with something like this. I know a lot of students are on Adderall, or they're trying the drugs, get them off on the market. And those things work too, of course, but then we have side effects, adverse reaction. For example, Adderall increases heart rate, increases the risk for heart conditions, possibly long-term use personality disorders and those types of things. So we really don't want those adverse reactions, do we?
No, absolutely not. And it's funny because I'm in a classroom with a bunch of kids that get distracted like super easily. I mean, ooh, look, a bird, and they're like they're gone. You lose them so quickly. And I know my attention is like that too. ADHD is the thing, and I think it just comes down to when you want to actually focus in on something. Like I know some kids that are ADHD in a classroom, but you stick them in front of an Xbox, and all of a sudden they have no problem focusing. Like it's a little bit different type of scenario. When you're talking about that mind focus of being mental when you're an athlete, it reminds me of Tim Grover's book Relentless, and he talks about the cleaners in there, and he talks about cleaners, closers, and coolers, and the way you're describing that mentality is that cleaner mentality that he's saying. And Michael Jordan would get in the zone, and it didn't start when he was on the court. It started when he was getting himself ready to go. He would never show up to any game unless the car he was going in was spectacular. He was suited up to the T. His presentation was all the way through. He was in the zone 100% of the time. And it's difficult, I think, for a lot of people to stay in the zone for 20 minutes, much less trying to be in the zone all day long. When you have kids that are on some of those ADHD medications and you expose them to something like this, what kind of results are you seeing, or have you seen for changing those types of things? Because again, one's natural, one is definitely not, and one has some adverse side effects and one doesn't.
Yeah, together with Dr. Emandi, which kind of stumbled upon this Biocitron and then made the product with the Clarence Z company. He also works for Boston Neuro, Pain and Psych. And so I work with them too. And so we see over 25,000 patients per year with depression, ADHD, PTSD, and those types of things. And we have different solutions, including medical marijuana, CBD, Delta 8, and Focus Plus, some of our supplements like this one. And obviously, based on their symptoms and based on what conditions they have, because many times they're misdiagnosed. A lot of doctors don't know either that, or don't understand that these conditions coexist. So there's many overlapping symptoms, and so it becomes important to do a differential diagnosis. But once we figure that out, diet becomes important. And again, certain strategies we need to teach the parents and the patients on, how to organize their day and give them tips and strategies to manage these symptoms. But Focus Plus certainly plays a major impact in those people's life also.
All right. I told you we have a live audience of 30 plus high school seniors. If you're sitting here, you're able to talk to them, tell them, you give them some of these strategies. What are some of these tips and strategies that they can do to structure their day or to get themselves in a position where they can have this focus? And then if they are interested in that, in your product, how it would enhance that?
Yeah, and there's many things, and I usually customize it for my mentees. But just to be general, we need to get into some habits, right? Because a lot of us are stressed, and the reason why we worry and we are stressed is because we don't have any control of our life. We never know what's going to happen next, and so we're always putting out fires, and we always have these deadlines, and we got this to do and this to do. So, number one, if we can get organized, and if we can get control of our life, control promotes clarity, and clarity omits stress. So the more control we have over what's happening tomorrow, next week, etc. So we got to get organized. And if we get that control and we know exactly what our agenda looks like every day from hour to hour, then we have control. But we also have clarity because we know tomorrow at 8 o'clock it's this, 9 o'clock it's this, 10 o'clock it's this. So we have clarity, and clarity reduces stress drastically. All right. So that's one thing. The other thing I like to say to business people and students is you really got to start thinking on, what is it or who is it that you want to be? And usually when I do my seminars, I say, look, what was the superpower that you wanted when you were a kid? What were your dreams about who you wanted to be? Because at that time when we were a kid and we dreamed about who we wanted to be or our superpowers, we believed without any doubt in our mind that we could be that person until our parents told us it was impossible. So then many settle for ordinary, but some of us, as stubborn as me, we keep following our dreams and figuring out how to realize them. So when I talk to younger people, you really got to figure out, what is your passion? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be? What do you want your values and core beliefs to be? And what do you want to do in life? And what are your passions? And let nobody else tell you to do anything else, because once you figure that out and you know what your dreams and your goals are, that sets the stage for the rest of your life. So it's important to figure that out, and the earlier the better, otherwise you waste your time, right? Then when you know that, you want to set a plan and a strategy, because without a plan, nothing significant comes to fruition, unfortunately. And once you have a plan, you got to figure out step number 3, which is my important step. It's like you got to find or surround yourself with a team of experts. In other words, if I want to become that person, who do I need around me to make that happen? What experts do I need? And start making that list, and those experts will come to you, because by yourself, you can't really get to your highest potential in life. And some of us hang around with the wrong people, right? And we got to surround ourselves with people that are smarter, that are better, with people that have a higher level of education, a higher level of self-development, and start to figure out who it is that you need to realize your dreams. And so those are the 3 key steps. And once you have that, we need to focus. And here we go back to focus. Every day you get up, because we all do stuff we don't want to do, right? We got to get up, and yes, we got to do A, B, and C, but remind yourself, what am I doing this for? And keep a focus on that dream, which makes your day in the morning much better, because you know why you're going to work, why you're going to do this project, because these are all the hurdles you need to take to get where you want to be. And so always start with the end in mind, right? I think that's one of the principles of Stephen Covey and the 7 Habits of Effective People, which is a really good book for youngsters to read, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And so that keeps you motivated, and then that way you're going to get to your highest potential. So those are some tips I think that are very important, for people to be successful and focused. So you got to get into routine. My routine in the morning, I get up, I do 10 minutes of meditation, then I do 3-4 minutes of a cold bath, very cold. Then I get up and I do a brain dump on my paper, just dump everything that's on my mind, because there's a lot of things going on, and I dump it on a piece of paper. I skip breakfast. That's for another episode, because breakfast is the least important meal of the day, and I go to work. So it's a routine, and there's no surprises. Everything's clear. There's no stress. I'm just focused, and I'm going to get the stuff done that needs to be done, that I want to get done. Last tip may be, like, especially when you're older, we do not say no often enough. When people ask us to do things, when people ask us to get involved in a certain project, if that project does not fit our dreams, don't waste your time. So I teach people how to free up a lot of valuable time during their day, because they're doing things that do not contribute to their dreams and their goals. We got to get rid of those, right? And so my book on this, called The Key to Your Success, Optimize Productivity, Maximize Focus, Free Up Valuable Time, and Live Stress-Free. That book should be out by the end of the year. If you go to my personal website, there it is, mvtonline.com or biohackingunlimited.com. Under the authors page, you have a few of my recent books, including a bestseller. But by the end of the year, I think the cover is already on the website, we'll have the book out on what I'm talking about right now.
Man, such great advice. It's funny. I remember growing up, I learned this saying, just say no. And they equated it to narcotics and alcohol at the time. But in reality, just say no is actually a really good strategy for things that you want to get in your life. If it doesn't align with what you want in life, say no. And that's one of the hardest things to do. I heard this, I was watching this TikTok, and this teacher was talking about this kid in his class. And the kid would do nothing. He wouldn't turn in any assignments, didn't pay attention. And every time he was walking around, the kid would make these fantastic art pieces. And so he asked the kid, he was like, hey, dude, what are you doing here? What do you want to do? Like, he's like, man, I just want to be a tattoo artist. And he was like, well, why don't you just go do that? You don't actually need school. right?
Yeah.
And
No, you don't need a degree
and
to
the
do
kid
that,
actually
right?
did it. The kid did it, right? And he became, he met up with him later and he's like, I don't know what I was doing there. I was wasting my time. And I think that's kind of a perfect example. Eventually I'll probably get in trouble one day with some parent that's going to get mad at me for telling them. But the truth
Well,
of the matter is, and what I tell these kids is, it's your life. It's not your parents' life, right? It's not your grandparents' life. It's not your teacher's life. It's your life. You need to decide what it is that you want
that's
out of
right.
it.
Yeah.
And then go out and get it. Go out and
No,
do it.
you're 100% right, and the kids that are listening, it's true, because sometimes the parents want to live vicariously through you, right? That's why they're yelling at the soccer field or at the play field, and so you got to decide what your passion is, and don't worry about anybody else, because you cannot satisfy anybody in life. No matter what you do, people are always going to judge you, and so it's much better to do what you're passionate about. I mean, you just gave a great example. I even taught my daughter, who wanted to go to medical school, I talked her out of it, because what are you going to do? Invest 10 years, have a big loan, and then what? Poison people for the rest of your life? And so I had a question. I basically said to her, it's like, look, is that really your passion, or are you doing it because you think doctors make a lot of money, right?
Mhm.
Because you got to ask why you want to do something. Why do you want to do something? Is it for the money? Is it your passion? Because people say, like you just mentioned the artist or the tattoo artist, people say, yeah, that's my passion, but that's not going to pay my bills. That's wrong. If it is your passion and you're the best at it, you'll make as much money as you want with it. That's the key.
Right.
Whatever you're
That's
passionate
right.
about something, people will buy it because you are passionate about on what you're selling. So do what you're passionate about is, and the money will follow. Don't do it for the money. Do it because you like to do it. You like to help people, and then the money just follows. It's just the way the world works.
Yeah, you're so right. Because the worst thing that can happen is you go out and you get a degree because your parents wanted you to get a degree. You get a job because your parents wanted you to get your job. And then every day you wake up miserable and you resent them for it for the rest of your life. That is the worst case scenario for you in a life's practice. So Dr. Van, we're running out of time here. So I want to make sure before we head out, if people want to get a hold of you, I know you mentioned it through the show, but if people want to get a hold of you, how can they do that?
Biohackingunlimited.com or mvtonline.com. It's my website. You can schedule a 20-minute free Zoom call with me for questions. We can help you through a mentorship program. My books are there. Everything's there. If you want to try the Focus Plus for free, go to trysmartpill.com and you can get a free sample.
Perfect. All right, ladies and gents. Dr. Van, thank you. Dr. Van Thielen, right? MVT. Thank you very much for coming on the program. And ladies and gents, that's it. Give him a round of applause. What do you guys say?
Thanks, guys.
All right, y'all. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
Peace.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started today.